kind of what we've talked about. You got 45, 45, 90 triangles. And when you look at those, the hypotenuse is 1. This is 45 degrees. The opposite side is the square root of 2 over 2. And the adjacent side is the square root of 2 over 2. And notice that wherever this triangle is drawn, the horizontal is the adjacent side. And the vertical is the opposite side. And that's really true all the time. So when you're thinking about like how do I kind of do some generalization on this, that's something that you got to kind of keep in mind, because that will save you time if you understand, how those two things are kind of working out. So that's one thing. And then the second one is when you have a 30, 60, 90 triangle with the 30 degree like this. The hypotenuse is still 1, the opposite is 1/2, and the adjacent is the square root of 3 over 2. But then if you flip it and make it a 60 degree reference angle, then the adjacent is 1/2, the opposite is the square root of 3 over 2, and the hypotenuse is 1. Now you'll see delta math really generalize this a little bit when you start to draw these, and as you do more and more of them, you'll see how they're generalized as well. So let's take this problem over here. Given the following, rotate the green dot to the appropriate angle and find the exact value. 315. So 315, you're going to rotate that all the way around. If we went all the way around to 360, that would be where it is. Now you look at this. And notice that when we draw this, the cosine of 315 is going to be drawn down here in this quadrant. This is the square root of 2 over 2, because this is a 45 degree angle, because this is 315, to go all the way around to there. And then this is the square root of 2 over 2. But this one's negative. So notice that the adjacent side is here, and this is the positive part of the adjacent, and this is the negative part of the adjacent. Notice that the opposite side is here. This is the positive part of the opposite, and this is the negative part of the opposite. So you can really start to generalize things here. And so this cosine 315 is just the square root of 3, square root of 2 over 2. And so if you show the solution, they draw it there, and it's the square root of 2 over 2. So notice this one here. We're going to start talking about a new kind of measurement. And the new kind of measurement is a thing called radians. And radians is just another measure of an angle based on the circumference of a circle with radius equal to 1. So that's what the radian measure is. Well, think about the circumference of a circle. The circumference of a circle is 2 times pi times the radius. So if the radius is equal to 1, the circumference is equal to 2 pi. So when you think about 2 pi, that's rotating all the way around. So this is 0, but this is also 2 pi. One unit around. So let's think about how we could divide the circle up. So think about like when we had a circle and we divided it up into degrees. This was 0, this was 180, this was 90, and this was 270, and this was back at 360. We can do that same thing with radians. So let me draw this in another place. Actually, let me just split it this way. Just going to split it this way so you don't get confused of what we're drawing here. But if I do that same thing here, and I draw a circle, if it's a circle with a radius equal to 1, this is 0, but this is also 2 pi, because it's once around. The circumference is equal to 2 pi. Well, that would mean that this is pi, because it's halfway around. That means this is pi over 2, because it's half of the halfway around. And then this is 3 pi over 2, or 1.5 times. So that's where you get radians. Now you can start to think about how you could split this up. Notice that if you take 360 degrees and you split into 6 parts, each one, if you split it into 6 parts, each one would be 60 degrees. If you split it into 8 parts, each one would be 45 degrees. If you split it into 12 parts, each one would be 30 degrees. So think about splitting a 360 degrees into those parts, and you get those values. And just do it. 360 divided by 6 is 60. 360 divided by 8 is 45. 360 divided by 12 is 30. We can do the same thing with the radians. But let's think about 2 pi. So this is in degrees, 2 pi radians. And radians is just another measure of it. If you split into 6 parts, think about what that would be. That would be 2 pi divided by 6, or pi over 3. If you split it into 8 parts, it would be pi over 4. If you split it into 12 parts, it's pi over 6. So here's the gist of it. If we started to make a table and I said, okay, degrees, and then radians, and we thought about how those things get split up. If you're looking at degrees, 0 degrees is equal to 0 radians. 30 degrees is equal to pi over 6 radians. 45 degrees is equal to pi over 4 radians. 60 degrees is equal to pi over 3 radians. And 90 degrees is pi over 2 radians. And so you can split things up into the same kind of thing. So you kind of go, okay, where do these things lie? So notice that if you were to do a problem like this, let me think about if I want to do this one. Actually,